Good morning, everyone. Today I wanted to talk about the moon and my experience and what the moon really is. The moon is a satellite which transmits a signal. And where exactly it transmits the signal from totally I don't know, but I know that it transmits signals from the different galaxies behind each star system. Last year, when I was in Kentucky picking up a travel mate of mine, we were sitting in the backyard and I looked up at the sky automatically and I saw 4 different zodiac signs illuminated at different times. They were illuminated, like connect the dots in this blue, sort of a laser looking fluorescent light to show me the design of the zodiac sign, and then it faded away, and then behind that sign was another set of illuminated blue fluorescent lines, but much larger. And what I was shown is that behind each zodiac sign there's a gateway, there's a galaxy of beings, and we're transmitted a signal through the moon from each one. So that's why when the moon moves station into a certain zodiac sign, we're able to do transmissions to detect what kind of energy we're going to be receiving based off of the descriptions of each zodiac sign. It's pretty wild how all of that totally has a place in our society. And I asked my friend, I was like, hey, do you see that? And he looked up and was like, yeah. It was way cool, and it only lasted a few minutes, but it was just enough to show what I was later going to learn. And so if we back up a couple of months before that, in July, I was in South Dakota visiting a friend with another travel mate of mine, Michael. And we were at my friend William's place visiting him from Facebook for the first time, and an Ancient Aliens show came on TV out of the blue, and it was there to show me a message of the moon because I was about to see it an hour and a half later. We were sitting in William's living room watching Ancient Aliens, and I started activating, and I'd never activated before, so my psyche automatically went to fear, and I thought, we got to get out of here. But really the energy was just pulling me to get up and move, to go get in the car, to drive. By the time I had walked out of William's house and got into the vehicle, my jaw was chattering and my legs were bouncing up and down. I could tell that something was changing, and my travel mate Michael was sitting in the car next to me like, what is going on with you? And while I had no idea, I was channeled the thoughts of comfort and ease and to just go. So that's what we did. I started driving. And we drove an hour and a half or so. I'm not really sure. I say I drove. I was not in control of my body or the vehicle. I just remember getting us to the location and seeing certain road signs, and I would turn there. I just knew instinctively where to turn, like out of a movie. And the moon, the satellite, wanted me to go to this specific location. I don't know the name of the road. I don't know the street. I don't remember anything, just that it was in South Dakota. And it pulled us into a driveway, and I just kind of sat there for a second, and I looked at Michael and I was like, should we pull down in there? I don't know what it is. It was a very long driveway. And I was like, you know what? I don't know. Let's just go. So I backed out of the driveway to proceed to keep driving because we were traveling across the country. We were going to go stay in a hotel. But they had other plans. The car would not drive. It was stalling for me to turn around and go back to that location. So that's what we did. And this time I pulled down further into the driveway, and I wish for the life of me I had remembered the name. But there was like a wrought iron name in an archway over the driveway, almost as if you were pulling into a cemetery or a burial ground of some sort. And I was like, I don't think we should go down in there. So we backed out. The same thing happened again. The car started stalling. Everything. So I turned around and went back down into the driveway. And this time we pulled down and we saw that it was an actual house. There were no cars in the driveway. There was a light on inside, and I just looked at Michael and I was like, what are we supposed to do? And so I was pulled to get out of the car. As soon as I got out of the car and I stepped up and looked up, I was like, oh, I couldn't believe it, because the moon that I had always seen was not the moon. and it was right in front of us, way low in the sky, and it was this huge 3/4 moon shaped craft that was silver. It was just one big plate of metal, like those Airstream RV buses, but much brighter, much shinier. And so I stood there for a while, not sure what to do, and then all of a sudden it dawned on me this article that I had read a week before, very briefly. I have not been able to find it since, but it taught me what I needed to do, and I knew that that's what it was, and it was to activate something within my brain. And so I tried to do the steps to activate that, which was to push my eyesight out of my peripheral vision while looking at the moon. And what happens when we do that is that I was staring at the moon while pushing out of my peripheral, and it creates the moon. It turns it into a mandala, just like the inside of my tattoo. And so I was staring at the moon, and it started turning more into the mandala to where it come back around to one full moon again. And then I was supposed to keep pushing to separate those two. Well, I could not get them to separate, and after trying for a while, I just gave up, and I told Michael, I was like, let's get back in the car, let's just go, today's not the day, it's not my time, I thought it was, let's just go. So we got back in the car, pulled out of the driveway, and the same thing happened again. The car stalled, it wouldn't let me drive, the activations were pulling on my shoulders to turn around and go back into the house. So I looked at Michael, and I was like, we have to try this. I have to try this one more time. And he's like, okay, Lori. Not knowing anything that's going on. He's just like a civilian bystander in all this. So I was like, okay, I'm not crazy. So we go back to the house. We pull into the driveway. And I told him, I was like, you hang out here. I'm going to go in the backyard of this people's house. I have no idea. I've already knocked on the door and everything when I first got there. It was wild. So I go to the backyard and I sit with my legs crossed. And there it is in all of its glory, and it's vibrating, and it's kind of like hovering and moving around, and it's so strong. Like, I couldn't think about anything else other than what I was there to do. Not taking a picture or any of that stuff. That was like the last thing on my mind. So I sat down Indian style with my legs crossed on the ground, and I just looked and looked, and I tried, and I kept pushing and pushing. And so the process of that is that the eyes will water. They're going to want to shut because it's not normal for us to push and strain out of our peripheral vision. But so I kept trying and I kept trying and I couldn't get it to do it. So finally I dropped my head and I started crying and I got humble and I surrendered my ego and I asked for assistance. And then all of a sudden it was like, I just looked up. I pushed, and I kept pushing and I kept pushing on my eyes because really it's straining the brain because the nerve that controls eye movement is located in the middle lobe of the brain where the pineal gland is. So I kept pushing and I formed the mandala, and then all of a sudden it came back to one, and as you're pushing it out of your peripheral vision, the one moon becomes two separate entities, and as you're pushing them out of your peripheral, they start to separate. And so I kept pushing until they separated, and then all of a sudden they went from me pushing to like no more effort. I wasn't pushing anymore. I was just looking out of my peripheral, and they separated. It was like two separate entities split like real fast, and they just sat there. And I was able to keep them separated for a while, and I knew I was done. The way that I look at it was that they activated my pineal gland that night, but I've had many different pineal gland activations that I can explain to you, but that was the big one. And then, so I knew I was done. I said, thank you. I got back in the car, and I walked around to the front of the house, and I told Michael, I was like, okay, it's time to go. And he's like, we're done? And I was like, yep, we're done. It was like nothing had happened. So I looked back up, we both looked back up, and the moon was still sitting there. And I got back in the car, Michael got back in, I backed out of the driveway, and as soon as we got back on the road, the activation started. I started feeling that beaming under my chest and my shoulder. It was like scanning all over my body. And I was able to drive the car and everything fine, and then all of a sudden, the moon, the craft that was so big and mighty right in front of us was no longer there, and it was like halfway back up in the sky, but it had changed back into the moon. And I saw it float way back out in the sky. Cloud coverage came in, and it became that beautiful, luminous, orangey yellow color that we often see, not the bright, fluorescent, like LED light that it was. And so, because of these situations that I was shown to be activated so that I could speak the truth in which I do, that's why I'm able to explain certain things and I feel certain things because of those moments. It seems like they show themselves to certain beings that are supposed to be activated, that so that we have proof of our own sanity, if that makes any sense. Because it's unusual and different for people to talk about life and the structures that we've always known in this way. The illusion of reality is just that. And then when either we start to remove the veil or the veil gets snatched from us, we're then able to see the reality. So then that starts a whole shift of evolution of purging the conscious mind and the subconscious mind and embracing everything that is and isn't and all that. Because at the end of the day, knowing that we are not alone and that moon transits the signal of ascension and the sun is a huge portal to the other side, it changes everything. It changes the perspective of being a human, of living with humans. It's all just part of the chess, board, the puzzle piece. And that's the beautiful thing, is that while we are not in control of anything, we're in control of a lot because we are here. So we can tap into that frequency to receive the signal with more ease and comfort. And it's not even about that. It's just about removing the veil of illusion, because then we awaken to ourselves. I feel like the moon had to do that to me because maybe I wasn't going to do it myself. That's part of the reason why I'm here, is to help other people activate, because the moon showing itself to me the way it did, I know that that's a beautiful, rare occasion, and I have such, it almost makes me cry. It's such a huge soul pull. I have such a strong relationship with the moon because of that. So I have this understanding that I can't really explain. I can't really make other people feel it just by explaining my words. So I just wanted to share my experience with you so that you can understand maybe a little bit of where I come from or where you come from and why we feel the things that we feel. Because I believe in speaking truth, and I don't believe in just going off of hunches and things like that. I want to be as open and honest and more. I want to give the authentic truth to everyone, because we're so filled with things in our lives that even the people telling us don't realize that aren't truth. And so for me, I want to share my truth with you and your truth with you, because we are living in this realm together, even though it's an individual journey. And I love you all, and I love myself, and I love the moon too. And I want to share this experience with you while they share that experience with me. And so I appreciate all the support and the love that you give me and give everyone, and I give it right back to you, because that's all that we have in this life is love. It's not supposed to be mean or hateful. That's just an artificial vibration that we don't understand. And once we break outside of that and we go, that doesn't feel good to me anymore. I don't want that sort of vibration. You can go, this can go, I can go, all of that. That's part of the death process, is the rebirth. So anyway, so when I say I love you to the moon, I really mean it, family. Have a great day.